Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build a medieval shop, and then I'll show you how to decorate it to create a bakery. Let's get creating. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind we'll be using some of these materials to create randomized textures, so it's helpful to have a bit more of each material on hand. Here is the outline of today's build. You can see that the front door of this build is located near the bottom of the screen, and you can put in an outline like this to help you build, as we'll be covering over all these blocks. We're going to start by using some stone bricks and building up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, on each of the corners of this build. I'll then also build up 4 high here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should have all of these pillars marked in. Now you'll see with our outline that we've got this concrete, that's where the main wall is going, and then we'll be putting details on top of where we've got concrete powder. But for now we're going to continue with some stone bricks, and starting 1 block above and then at the top block, we're coming out on the sides of the walls where the walls will connect. Once you've gone all the way around doing this, we can begin filling in. Keep in mind you'll want to leave a 2 high gap for the door on this front wall. You'll also need to leave a 2 high gap here on the side for the side doorway. I'll fill in all the way across the back. Across the side as well. And then when we come to this larger front wall, I'll fill in around these decorative bits with the bricks. I'll come across the top and across the bottom. And then I want to create an archway using 2 stone brick stairs. So it should look like that. Then I'll continue with some stone brick, and I'm going to place these on top of each of these locations on the corners. And you can see that these are located in front of the stone brick columns. I'll then place a stone brick stair on top. I'm leaving out the ones in front of these 2 columns to give us more space in this front window. I'm going to add in the floor now. I'm using some dark oak planks, and this will connect up well and provide continuity with the rest of the build. Quickly fill all this in. I'm also going to start filling in my floor here, and I'm going to be using some dark oak slabs, and I'm allowing a space to add in my ladder, and then I'll continue filling in. Don't forget to light up your build as you're doing this. You don't want mob spawning. Even in creative, they can be an annoying thing to have to deal with, so I'm just going to throw in a few torches for now. Now I'm going to come back outside the build, and I'm 1 block away in front of this here stone brick column, and I'm going to build up 4 high using some spruce logs. I'll then add in some dark oak stairs, 1 facing towards the build here, and then 2 facing towards each other, and then I'll fill in this gap with some more dark oak slabs. You can see from above we've got 2 sections of dark oak, and here's how it looks from the front. Now I'm going to come to the back of the build to start working on the base of the chimney. I'm going to start on this left hand side, building up 2 high with stone brick, and I'll place a stone brick stair on top. I'll then build up 3 high in the rest of the locations like that, and I'm going to add 2 stone brick walls to this side. Then I'll just finish this part by coming up 2 more blocks here and placing a stone brick wall in front. Now we're going to begin preparing to add the second story on top. I'm going to grab out some dark oak slabs, and I'm placing them in front of each of these stone brick columns, as well as in front of this pillar here. Come around this side. I'm going to leave this one free, but I'll rotate round and do the one on the back, and then one here. And then I'm going to connect up all of these using some dark oak trapdoors. I'm also filling in the corners as well. On the front, I'm going to leave this gap free and jump over to this side. I'll add in one here, one on the other side, and then come over and add one in front of this slab, but I'm leaving this gap free, and then I'll fill in this section here. So let's look from above. I'm then going to grab some spruce planks and I'll place two here and one on the other side and two slabs in between. And then I'll come round to the front and I've got some green and white wool and I'm just going to alternate them to fill in this gap. That way we've got a nice rectangular platform to build on top of. We're going to start this second story by adding in some posts using spruce logs. I'm going to build up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, starting in this left-hand front corner. I'll then build up 4 high on top of this green wool, like this. I'll come to the back of the build and build up 4 high so I'm directly lined up. So you can see these two line up and these two line up. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to separate the thing into 2 parts. So we've got 3 on this side and 3 on that side. I'm going to have a gap of 3 coming along this back wall and another gap of 3. Then I'm going to line up these 2 front posts with another post, count 1 back and place 1 in here. And then I've got a gap of 5 left on this side. I'm then going to come along, keeping myself lined up so I'm 1 block away from this post and add in another one. And then I'll separate this into 2 blocks of 3 and another on top of this green wool. So let's have a look. We've got groups of 5 and 3 here, another group of 5 at the back. We've got a 1 block gap here, some groups of 3 at the back, a group of 5 along this right hand side, and then a group of 1, and then these should be 4 groups of 3. And you can see these posts from above. Next, I'm going to use some red wool as a placeholder block to mark in the location of windows. This will make it a lot easier to put in our walls. On this front side, I've got 2 going in here. You can see I'm placing these window placeholder blocks over the top of the stone brick. Rotating around to the left-hand side, I have 2 more windows. And you can see all of our windows are 2 high and 1 wide, and they're centered on this back wall. I have 2 mirroring the ones in the front, like this. I'm leaving this wall free of windows, but I will have a window here. 2 windows on this right-hand side. Coming round, I have another window here, and then I'm going to leave a gap here for the doorway. Got all of our locations marked in now, we can start adding in the walls. For the walls, I want to use a mixture of smooth sandstone, regular sandstone, and bricks. We're aiming for a textured look here, so it's up to you how much or how little you use of each material, but I like to have the sandstone placed nearby to the bricks, and then fill it in with the smooth sandstone. And don't be afraid of taking a step back and changing up your design. So I think I might move this sandstone around a little bit. I'll add one up there, and maybe I'll bring some sandstone across the bottom here. And I'm just going to go around like this, keeping in mind that the sandstone from one corner is going to wrap around to the next and fill in. If you're enjoying today's tutorial, I'd really appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to get world downloads and play on my Patreon server with an awesome community of builders, check out my Patreon. This wall here is going to be behind the chimney, so you won't see a lot of it, but we still want to add lots of texture to this wall as it will be visible from the inside. Go. Once again, I'm going to take a step back and check that I like the location of this texture. I'm going to change it up a little bit so we don't have the bricks in all of the corners. Then when we're coming around this front part of the build, you can see that I'm leaving this section free and working along on top of the stone brick. This section is going to be a little balcony, so we don't want a wall in front of it. Once all the walls from the outside are visibly filled in, you'll need to come inside the build and fill in these gaps. Now you could go ahead and fill it in just with the smooth sandstone like this, or you could continue to add texture in between. There we go, all the gaps are filled in, and we can remove our red wool placeholder blocks now and replace them with some white stained glass. Of course, you don't want to fill in the door with the white stained glass. Here's how it's looking so far. Now we're going to take some dark oak slabs and we're going to place them on either side of the walls like this. In this one wide gap, I'll just add in one here, and then I'll continue around following this pattern. I'm going to leave this gap here where we've got the chimney coming up free. And in between each of these, I'm going to add in some dark oak trapdoors. Now I'm at the back of the build and we're going to continue working up our chimney. So I'm going to add 2 more stone bricks here and a stone brick wall. Then I'll build up to the top of this wall here. And I'm going to come to the right hand side and add in 2 stone brick stairs. And you can see I've got the bottom one upside down so it creates this curved shape. Then at the very top I'll add in a stone brick wall, and on either side I'll go in with some dark oak slabs. So the chimney should look like this. Switching back to some spruce logs, I'm going to find the center of this front wall here, so on top of this trapdoor, and build up 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll then come to the back of the build and do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should be centered above these 2 windows. Then on these 2 side walls, I'm going to build up 7 high on top of this center pillar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then on the right hand side of the build, I'm going to need to line up this pillar, and you'll see it's located atop this window, and I'm placing it on the trapdoor here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that we've got our posts in, we're going to add in some more windows. These are going either side of this post, located 1 block above like this. And you can see that I'm building this 1 block back from the post, so it's in line with where we've got our walls on the lower story. And we've got 2 windows on the other side as well. Now we're going to use some smooth sandstone, and bricks to create some gables. On these 2 smaller gables, we're going to go up 1 block first. And I'm building behind the post here as well. Then a group of 2. And then I'll fill in 2 behind the post. So it should look like that. Let's do the one on the back as well. One thing to keep in mind is you don't want to perfectly mirror the texture that you've got going on the other side. So I'm going to, instead of having a smooth sandstone here, I'm going to go in with a regular sandstone. And I'm going to move the brick up to this location on this side. Let's see, I might put the brick down here, and then some sandstone here. And once again, we're going up 1, then a group of 2, and I might add in another brick. And then I'm going to fill in this gap in between. And that's our back gable in. Now onto these 2 side gables, we're going to have a layer of 1 and then go up in grouping of 2 again. So I'll I'll just start filling in and randomizing this texture. So we've got our first layer already joined in with this corner here. And then I'm going to start coming up in my grouping of 2. So the next grouping of 2 is going to go directly above the window. And then I'll come behind and fill in this gap. And I'll do the same on this side. Now you'll need to keep in mind here that we'll be building over the top of this gap. So I'm going to start by coming out to this side. And I'll be building out a total of 3. And then I'll do the same on the other side of this build. And you can see that the final block will be floating for now. Then I'll start going up in my groups of 2. I'll then come in behind and fill in. So here's how it should look. Now I'm going to grab some dark oak stairs and I'm going to create little arches in front of this balcony area. You can see that to connect them, I'm using a dark oak trapdoor. I'll add a dark oak stair in here, and then in this gap I'll fill it in using some more dark oak trapdoors. I'm going to come underneath to do this so I can make sure that I'm getting and filling in this gap underneath where that gable wall is. Now I'm placing these trapdoors in by holding shift and clicking on the edge of the trapdoor. But if you're having trouble placing them in that way, you could easily put in a row of placeholder blocks on top, like this, and click directly on the block. And then you can remove them afterwards. Speaking of removing placeholder blocks, I'll also remove these ones here for the windows and replace them with some white stained glass. Just like that. And we're going to add in a ladder now to the attic story and fill in the roof around it using some sandstone slabs. Alright, the 3 levels of this build are really coming together now. Before we begin adding in our roof, I'm going to come inside and add in a few torches, because we don't want mobs spawning inside of our build. I'll also come up the ladder, and I'm going to place some just on the ground for now in this attic space, so that way it doesn't get all dark when we start adding in our roof. Before we get adding in the actual roof, we're going to add in our 2 chimneys, as they will be taking up some of the roof space and we don't want to have blocks in our way when we build them. I'm going to start with this one on the front, and I'm placing a stone brick on top of this dark oak trapdoor, and then I'll add another 3 on top. So we're a total of 4 high here. I'll then build up behind that, so we have a little L shape which is all 4 high. Then I'm going to leave a gap and then add in 2 stone brick walls like this. Coming up, I'm going to add in a stone brick here in the corner, and then I'll add in an upside down stone brick stair. I'll add in a stone brick on top of this, and another upside down stone brick stair, this time facing the opposite direction. I'll add a block on top, and then I'll use a placeholder block to add in another stone brick stair facing upside down and towards the left hand side. I'll add 1 more stone brick on top, and then I'll add campfires to the top of each of these points and surround them with some spruce trapdoors. There's how the first chimney should look. Now we're going to rotate round to the back of the build to add in another chimney coming up from this point here. So I'm going to build up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4 on top of this stone brick, and I'll go in behind and do the same thing like this. Then starting 1 block above, I'll go in with 3 stone brick walls. I'll add in 2 stone bricks behind here and a stair facing forward. Then I'll add another a block on top of here and a block behind and a stair facing towards the side like that. Then I want to have another stair on top and another block, 2 more blocks on top, And then I'm going to build up this last part of the chimney 3 blocks high. I'll then add my campfires on top of these 3 points and surround with some more spruce trapdoors. Now you can see how the whole chimney should look at the back. Now we can start filling in this roof. For the roof, I'll be using some green terracotta and lime terracotta, and then we've got dark oak for the edging, which is going to trim the whole roof. And then I've got some spruce logs and some placeholder blocks. The idea is to have it fade from the green terracotta at the top into the lime at the bottom. Let's start with the lime, and I'm going to build across from this log here, working on the back of the build. And I'm going to come underneath the chimney here, and I'm going to stop when I get to this post, as we've got to remember we've got to wrap around as we come up to this gable. The next layer is 2 blocks high, and I'm going to start bringing in some of this green terracotta, but just a little bit here and there. Let's see, I'm going to add in 1 in here, and then here's where I'm going to start wrapping around to join up with this part of the gable. Next layer up is again 2 high, and we're going to have a lot more green terracotta coming in here. In fact, this layer is mostly green terracotta. I'm also going to fill in behind here, and then continue along. The next layer is mostly green terracotta with just a little bit of the lime. Once again, I'm going in behind the chimney here. I add a little extra lime in here and continue coming across. And when I get to this part of the gable here, I'm going to wrap it around, adding in just a little bit of lime. And you can see we've connected up that part of the roof. I'm then going to come to this side of the smaller gable, and I'm going to fill in this corner here. So I'm going to start by placing a lime terracotta on top of this post, and then I'll work my way up using a little bit of lime here at the bottom, a little bit of green, and adding my texture as I build up. There's our corner filled in. And now I'll build 2 high across the whole top using just the green terracotta. Stopping atop this post here like this. Here's how it should look. Now I'm round at the front of the build, and we're going to start filling in this side. I'm going to start again with this corner, placing a lime terracotta, and once again just filling in as we go, fading in from the lime to the green. So here's how I've done this side. And now for the other half of the front wall, I'm going to come in with my lime terracotta and go all the way across the base here underneath the chimney and work my way up. Make sure you come in and fill in behind the chimney here. And I'm going to add in another one on this next layer. A tiny bit of lime in here. And then the rest is going to be mostly green. I think I might add in 1 more lime just here. So that's the base of the roof done. Let's add some edging. This edging is going to make a really big difference to the overall appearance of the roof. I'm going to start by building out with spruce logs at the top of each of these posts. You can see I'm coming out 2 blocks. Now I'm going to come down to the base of the build and come all the way across using some dark oak slabs. And I'm going to finish just before this gable here. I'll do the same on the other side. Finishing just before the gable. Now I'll work on these 2 smaller gables, starting by going in with some stairs and and working up, and I've got blocks underneath. Then at the top I'll have 2 blocks and a slab. I'll also come underneath and add in some stairs for a smoother look. So it should look like that. And I'll do the same on the back side as well. There we go with that gable. Now we want to create a similar gable pattern on the 2 larger gables. So we'll go in with stairs first, and I'm placing these at the top of each grouping of 2. I'll place blocks underneath and stairs underneath this. And then at the very top we've got our 2 blocks and a plank. Let's do that on the other side. Now to fill in these corners, I'm going to go in with some dark oak trapdoors. Here's how the roof and build is looking. We've got some important details to add now. The first detail we're going to add are some planters, so I'm coming underneath here and adding one in this 1 wide gap, as well as one to this side here. I'm going to have a 3 wide one underneath this window, one over here, and a 3 wide one under this window. Let's see, I'm going to add one to this side over here, and 3 in front of this window. Then I'll come down to the lower level and add in some more. I've got one here. Let's add a 3 wide one here, and a 2 wide one here. Another planter on this side, and then I'm going to surround each of these planters with some spruce trapdoors. Make sure you cover all the visible dirt. That's all the ones on the lower level. Now onto the upper level. When I add plants to these planters, I'm going to stick to plants which are green, red and white, but you could switch out the colours for whatever colour you'd like. Another great way you could customize this build is by switching out the green terracotta and lime terracotta used for the roof to some other colored terracottas. You could use some pink and red, for instance. You can also switch out the colors that we've got going on here with the wool. This is going to create a lovely woolen canopy. Continuing with the details, I'm going to come up to these posts here and add in some spruce fences, coming 2 down. Like this, and I'm going to come over this side with some spruce logs and come out of either side like this. Underneath each I'm going to go in with some more spruce fences, and I'm going to do the same around on the sides of the build as well. Looking good. We're going to be using some oak trapdoors to create some window shutters here. I'm just having these on one side of the windows. There we go. And it's up to you when you're placing these in. You could have these mirrored like this. You can have them on the outer edges. I'm going to add some window shutters to these gable windows here. You could even move this window shutter over and have them all to one side. It really is up to you. I think I like that look. I've got to add my window shutters to this side now. Now that our windows are decorated, let's add some decoration to the doorways. I'm going to start with this one under here, going with some stone brick walls and spruce fences. I'll then use a placeholder block to put dark oak stairs on either side. This one can be a little tricky to place in. You might have to stand on top of this planter, and then I'll remove that block and add in a slab. I'll also put in a spruce door here. I'm going to create the same decoration down here on the lower level. And then on this door, I'm going to leave it decoration free as we're going to be having a canopy coming over the top, but I will put in my doorway. Let's add in this canopy now. We're going to be using some campfires to achieve lots of texture here. I'm going to start by placing in one campfire straight on top of this block. Then I'm going to come 2 campfires along, and you can see I've rotated round so that the logs are facing the other direction. And then I'll finish with 2 more campfires. I'll also place a campfire coming forward on this block here, and then a campfire underneath this window. Now we're going to go in with some slabs. I'm placing slabs underneath some of these campfires like this, and spruce trapdoors underneath the other ones. Now we're going to come forward for this last layer, and I'm going to line myself up with this block and add in 2 fences. You can see that this is 1 block away from these stone bricks here. I'll add a stair on top, then a campfire, then we've got another stair and a slab underneath here. And then we've got our final layer, so I'll go in with 2 more spruce fences and another stair. So it should look like this. It's got a really rustic effect, and it provides some decoration for this doorway. I'm also going to grab some spruce trapdoors and come to this stone brick here, and I'm going to build 3 out and place 1 on the center block. Now from here we can hang a sign, and what you have on your sign depends on what you intend on selling in your shop. I think I might turn mine into a bakery. I'm also going to continue along with this canopy here. I'm going to build it 1 more out, then I'm going to use a placeholder block and come down and continue my pattern along. From here I can also add in some spruce fences underneath. Just like that. Let's come up to the next layer here, and we're going to add in a banister, and I'm going to be using some dark oak stairs here, coming out from either side, and then also filling in this gap, and I'll place some dark oak trapdoors on top. I really like the effect this gives. Next we'll go in with some lighting. I'm hanging lanterns across the sides here. And then I want to hang them 2 chains down underneath each gable. I'm going to place in these signs where I would put them, but you can decide what you want to put on these signs later. I've just got mine blank for now. I'm also going to be placing some item frames over here. Now if you had a bakery, you could put a loaf of bread in here, or you could have something else that relates to what your shop is. Then I'll come inside, and I'm going to place in some spruce trapdoors, coming around this opening here. That way we only have a 1x3 opening in the center. I'm also going to come upstairs all the way up to the attic space. And I'm going to be placing in some barrels in this gap here. And you can see from the inside of this build that it's really very spacious, and you have 3 floors to work with and even a lovely balcony space. Now let's put this building in a location, and I'll show you how I go about decorating it to look like a bakery. So here we go, I've put my building in a medieval setting. You can see I've actually got a town popping up around my bakery. Now I've got lots of wheat growing out the front, but of course you could build this in a row of shops along a street. I've built a little hay cart ready to supply my bakery, and then as we come up this way I've created a small bakery cart. Perhaps the baker takes this cart to market. I've also created some seating dotted around the place, and I've put these bales of hay. This bakery is going to need a lot of flour. Underneath this first canopy where I've got a sign, I've got some supplies stacked out the front, and this just gives it a more lived-in feel. And you can see I've got some baked goods ready here to sell. We can also see around this way I've planted lots of flowers in my planters, and I've gone with reds, whites and greens. And this really plays into the colours of the build. We've got the bricks coming in, the sandstone kind of has this creamy white texture, and then we've got the green in the roof. Let's head inside now. So this first level is where we've got the main section of our bakery. So I've got some storage at the front here with lots of ingredients, and then as we come around this L-shaped room, I've created a galley style kitchenway. So I've got some things baking in here, and a great tip you can use to create some cooking campfires is to have these here smokers. Now my cooked mutton is already cooked, but if I grab out some more food, got some raw mutton here, it creates this beautiful fire texture which looks fantastic in the bakery. And you can see I've got a larger bakery oven here. Having this located in front of the window means that you can see it when you look in through the build, which really plays into the style that this is a bakery. Now let's head upstairs past all these delicious baked goods to look at the living quarters. On this first floor, I've created an galley style walkway with a desk at this end, and then as we head past the fireplace and some bookshelving, we end up in a small eating area. Now I haven't included a kitchen in this house part of the build because of course there's a bakery downstairs, but I have included an area which is practical and survival and looks great and creative, using lots of the crafting blocks like this here loom, and then we've got the cartographer's table as well as some other useful things. Let's head upstairs for a tour of that room now. Now up here we've got a bit more space to work with, so of course in survival you could use this for lots of storage. I've got some decorative bookshelves up here, and I've used some sea pickles, some turtle eggs as well as pot plants to decorate. I've also kept my decor in here similar to what we've got going on outside. So there's wheat, the berries, which ties into what we've got planted in our pot plants, and then a hoe because of course we need to be able to collect that wheat. I've even got some furnaces up here for some more practicality. I really like the way these planters utilize a composter, so you can use these to create bone meal to continue growing your crops. Now if we head past this cozy fireplace, we end up in the bedroom of the house, and this is taking up lots of space so we can have a really comfortable spacious bed to jump on, and we can look out through these wonderful windows at the nice view. It's important to keep in mind the use of your space. If you're in survival, you might like to use less bulky furniture so you can have more practical elements in your build. Or you could go for purely a decorative effect, and then you don't need to include some of the resource blocks. Or you could do a mixture of both and even add a basement if you want more space. And of course, you could use this build to create any number of stores. You could even switch out the roof and have some next to each other, and maybe one could sell flowers or armor or be a blacksmith. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further and get some awesome benefits. See you in another video!